Nut Nerd Podcast, episode 259. There's a lot of money in money.
Welcome to the Nut Nerd Podcast. I am Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, good day to you, kind sir. It's good to be back in the Pacific Northwest after my gallivanting around the country.
Yes.
I was, most of you do not know. A couple of my friends know, so that's probably 90% of the people who listen to this podcast. No, I was in Las Vegas helping a friend move down there. I was gone all week long driving a U-Haul and then spent a day or two on the Strip and then flew back. So I'm back in town.
Nice.
Nobody even knew I was gone. That's how much of an impact I make in people's lives.
Well, I do want to welcome any new listeners we might have. We were a featured promo on the Libsyn podcast this past week. It's something that they offer. It's one of our podcasts that we listen to about podcasts.
Yes. And I don't even think I showed you the final promo clip before I submitted it to them.
Yes.
Did you listen to it? Did it sound okay?
Yes, I did. It did. And I'm going to try to post that so people can hear it on the socials.
We can do a live read of it.
Yeah. But yes, I did want to get into some follow-up as we always do. Last week, we spent quite a bit of time talking about some of the camera features in iOS 14 on our beloved iPhones and devices. I read about a setting that's only in the Settings app this past week, and it's something they built in called Prioritize Faster Shooting. So they have built into their computational photography a setting that is on by default to prioritize faster shooting. So if you're really tapping that button, it actually lowers the quality of the photos a bit so that it can take more pictures. And I did some research on how much it lowers the quality and how much it pay attention to, if I'm normally, sometimes I do burst mode, but I don't want to lower the quality of my photos. So I toggled it off, did some research, asked on Reddit. I didn't get any feedback. So it's just something to be aware of. And I did want to say in relation to that, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, it is big. And it's much bigger. I've gotten really used to it, though. And again, when I go to a smaller phone now, I'm like, oh, that's so tiny. And we've both watched and read a lot of reviews. There's some good in-depth ones now. And the cameras are slightly better on the 12 Pro Max. And it's some of the reviews, people go out and they take some pictures and they're like, I don't really notice a difference over the 12s or the 12 Pro. My theory on it, I was thinking it through. I love taking pictures. I am not the best at taking pictures. I'm not great at taking pictures. So any advantage I can have to better capture a moment, that's worth it to me. Now, Dave, I know that on your trip, you were able to take a lot of photos. Obviously, Las Vegas, the Strip, there's a lot going on down there. And what's your feelings on your photo taking down there? I saw you posted some on Instagram. They looked really great, but coming from the 10R and just using the 12 Pro Max, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, some quick thoughts on changing from a single lens phone to a triple lens phone is one huge advantage. You'll note that on the iPhone 11 and 12 with no Pro on the end, they've only added the wide angle lens and the standard lens. They don't give you the 2X lens that you used to get. And I think that was the right move because I found myself in many situations where I needed to get a close-up picture. Let's say I was sitting at a slot machine and I wanted to take a picture of it. Well, the standard lens crops it into maybe 6 inches above your head and 6 inches below your head. But if you click the wide angle, you could get a picture of the entire slot machine as you were sitting down. There were many architectural features that I was too close to be able to use the standard lens to capture everything. The wide angle lens gave me the advantage there. The Smart HDR that's in the settings here, which blends the bright areas and the dark areas and allows you to have a higher dynamic range. I noticed that a lot of my pictures do indeed employ a very wide dynamic range. You get the sky, you get the shadows, you get everything. So that's a feature that I really took advantage of. And speaking of prioritize faster shooting, that is turned on by default, I notice on my phone. So all the pictures I took. Now, I didn't take a lot of pictures in succession, so I don't think it diminished my photos at all.
No, it says it intelligently adjusts to. So yeah, if you're taking normal pictures, those won't be affected. I just don't know at what point and how much it starts degrading your photos. So you were telling me before we started recording a little bit about video too, and you took some video of the Bellagio fountain with the new phone.
I challenge you to go online and find any YouTube video guy or gal who is talking about camera phones and the video quality. Almost to a person, you will find that the iPhone video quality is better than any other model. That's not always true with photos, but when you see the comparison side by side, the iPhone video capability is just so far beyond the rest. And I found that to be true. The image stabilization was fantastic. The dynamic range, the colors, I mean, everything. It looked like I was taking it with a professional video camera or a digital SLR. All my videos just turned out great. That was true for in bright sunlight to videos at night. Nothing else holds a candle to it. I was constantly impressed. Now, of course, there's the night photography stuff that iPhone and other manufacturers use to do the night photography. That doesn't necessarily apply to video. However, the larger camera sensor, I did notice when I was on the normal lens and I would do video, and if I would do like the 2.5 zoom, the video would suddenly get dark because that sensor is different. And the same, if you go way back to the wide angle, it would also be dark. And so you have to be kind of smart about how you take video with it. But again, super impressed. I did some photos that you'd think, how could that ever turn out good? And some videos. I'm just holding it weird or whatever. And you go back and look at them. They're sharp and clear and look phenomenal. So very impressed with the iPhone 12 Pro Max camera.
Very nice. And I've got a little pro tip. Speaking of new phones, so my wife, I took her 8 Plus and got her all switched over to the 12 Pro. And it transfers all your apps over and everything. But one thing to check, she had posted something on OfferUp, an app for, selling things or whatever. And she was like, I haven't gotten any responses from these people that were interested. A lot of apps you will need to re-sign in to the apps on your new device. Even though it transfers them over, it transfers data, the way the apps are built. Now, some will work, but I want to remind people, any of those apps where you're like, hey, I haven't heard anything out of this one for a while, just open them up, check them. Now, you and I, Dave, have way too many apps to check them all. Most people are a little more reasonable in their app hoarding. But yeah, if there's something like OfferUp or Messenger or Google Calendar, just open them up and make sure that they're connected to your account so that you don't have issues.
And that is especially true with banking apps. Today, I needed to get into a banking app that I had not launched until since I've got my new phone. And I had to go through the whole process to sign up for Face ID and set up my PIN, that whole deal. So that's a very good pro tip, because you may find yourself somewhere needing to use an app right away. And it's like, oh, I have to sign in. I don't know my sign in information. It's at home. So very good tip.
Yes. Our next piece of follow-up, we were talking last week about Slingbox going away, the kind of DVR services. Well, I was listening to the Adam Carolla podcast, as I do on a daily basis, and there had an advertisement for the Sling TV service. And I go, wait a second, Sling TV service? I thought we just talked about how this was going away. So I looked it up. The Sling TV service is separate from the actual devices. It's kind of like YouTube TV or Hulu TV, all these TV, over-the-top TV services. So there's Sling TV, which is separate. Slingbox and Sling TV, I believe, are both owned by Dish Network. So they're discontinuing the devices. And it also looks like they are moving away from the Sling TV name to Air TV. So why they are paying for ad space on Adam Carolla, I'm not sure. And with all cord cutting stuff, it's as confusing as it can be. But I did just want to make that clarification. If anybody out there is using Sling TV, and not using the physical device, you might be okay, but it'll probably change names. It's a mess.
Weird. Yeah, that is very strange. It sounds like, since they're still doing advertisements for a discontinued product, or at least a name changed product, that they don't have their stuff together.
Yes.
That would
Yes.
cause me to look elsewhere for my TV service.
Very true. And I did want to bring up, I had a very good conversation with friend of the show, Wes, this last week, going back to moving phones and getting new phones. Now, his parents, they both have phones. I believe they're with Verizon. They're, Android phones that are like 4 years old. Everybody else in the family has iOS. From what he was saying, they kind of got taken when they went into the phone store, and they maybe got that corrected on what they were paying and everything. But he was like, hey, you know what? They've said they're interested in iPhones now. And I was like, yes, I love to hear that. So they're interested in moving over to iOS. So I said, okay, great. Let's talk about some options here. And since they have Android phones, of course, they're concerned about their data. Who knows if they're backing up to Google Photos?
They're not concerned
any
about
of
their
that
data
stuff.
if they have Android phones. Let me tell you that.
Well, that's true. But their contacts and that kind of thing. And I looked it up because I remembered something in the back of my mind. And Apple actually has an official move from Android to iOS app, which you download on your Android phone, and then it will transfer information for you over to your new iOS device.
Very nice.
So it's not just how easy, we've talked a lot about how easy it is to go from an iPhone to an iPhone. Well, Apple is also very vested in trying to make sure it's easy to come from Android. So on top of that, we were also talking about, they're on Verizon. Who knows what their plan is, what they're paying for it. But I wanted to bring up again something we haven't mentioned in quite a while. T-Mobile has a couple plans that are great for certain groups of people. They have the T-Mobile 55 Plus plan, which you get 2 lines of service if you're 55 years or better. And it's full unlimited, just like the plan that I have, 2 lines for $55 a month, which you are not going to be able to touch anywhere else. They also have a amazing plan for military. I think it's pretty similar to that. So if you are active military or a veteran, look into that. If you don't fall into those categories, I did remind him of Mint Mobile, which Dylan called in to talk about before, or there's Visible. There's some different ones that you can shop around there, kind of the second tier services. But his parents aren't power users. They just want to have a phone to see pictures of the grandkids and text message and make phone calls.
Yeah.
But like that T-Mobile 55 plan, 55, my parents have been on that for a couple of years. They've been really happy with it. And it's really nice that they offer that plan.
Yeah. Well, before we get off the Android to iOS transfer, I also wanted to give a little plug. I'm completely astounded by the number of people who are Android users who have Gmail accounts that do not have Google Photos and Google Contacts and Google Drive connected or turned on.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh yeah, I lost all my photos or whatever. I'm like, wait, you have an Android phone and you have a Gmail account. Why didn't you have Google Photos turned on?
Yes.
And they're like, I don't know. What is that? So just, we've talked about this a number of times. If you are an Android phone user, that's an operating system that's owned by Google, you more than likely have a Gmail account because it probably prompted you to set one up when you got your phone. In your settings, you can toggle on Google Photos, and it'll take all the photos from your camera roll and upload them and back them up to the Google Cloud. And you can do the same thing for your contacts, so you don't ever have this new phone, who dis? I don't know who you is type stuff. It's all there. It's all very simple. So just a reminder, especially when you're going to be moving from Android to iOS, if those services are enabled, it's very simple to re-enable them on your iPhone so that you don't lose anything. So anyway, that's just an addendum to that.
No, yes. One backup is none backup, and at least have one backup. And they have something similar to the iCloud backup where it'll back up your settings and everything. Now, one of the problems with Android, your results may vary depending on the phone, the age, the maker, all of that stuff. At least check it out and do something. Dave, you put something in the show notes. You wanted to talk about Amazon Luna. They're gaming service, their cloud gaming service that we mentioned a while
Yeah,
back?
we mentioned it on the show, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to sign up for the trial and see what the deal is with it." And so I finally got an invite back from them,
Oh,
and
cool.
said, "Hey, you can join the free trial if you'd like. There's a 7-day free trial, and then you have to start paying. It's $5 a month." But what this is like we've talked about before. There's Stadia, there's Microsoft's game
Cloud
cloud game
game,
thing.
cloud
There's
X.
Ubisoft has their own thing, and basically this is streaming games live from a server somewhere else to your mobile device, to your console, to your computer, to whatever. This is game streaming service. So Amazon created a new one called Luna, Luna. And this is what I tried out. As a little side note, they also have a controller that you can purchase that works with everything, but you don't have to have that. I've got my Xbox One controller. It works for a PS4 controller as well, and some other controllers. So if you have something already, you can use it with this. So for free, I signed up for 7 days to play mini games. They're the games you would expect. They're kind of the ones that are very mobile like games. Like you can also find these on the Nintendo Switch. You can find them on Steam on your PC. You can find them on your iPhone or your Android device. But you can also, in addition to your $5 a month, subscribe to different channels, which give you access to more games. There's a $15 a month channel that you can subscribe to from Ubisoft, and they do the Assassin's Creed games, a ton of other AAA console PC games. So I didn't want to pay the $15 to try that part out. But last night, I downloaded the Luna app, the 20 or 30 games that they have in their library. I picked one, hooked up my controller, and I'm playing on my phone just like the app is on my phone. And the way they accomplish this is through the web browser. And I know that we have an upcoming story here to talk about that. The point of my story is I tried out Amazon Luna. It streamed the game right to my phone through the web browser. There's a Mac app. You can do it through the browser on any computer. There's a PC app. I think there's even a Google Chrome app, or you can do it through Chrome, the Chrome browser. But it seems to work really well. The technology is here to stay, and all you have to do is choose what platform am I going to go with. Am I going to go with Microsoft? Am I going to go with Google? Am I going to go with Android? Where do I want to play all these games, and what service do I want to pay for is what you're going to be deciding here in the future. But it works surprisingly well.
Very cool. Yeah. And we've talked about Fortnite, which is a similar thing, and we'll tie into the next story. And I had Fortnite installed on my Mac, and I was going through and looking at all my big files, trying to make some space. And Fortnite took up like 200 gigabytes of data, and I've got 2 terabytes, but most people have, maybe 256, 512. So if you had 256, you couldn't even install the game. So that's one of the advantages of these cloud games is it's on a server somewhere else. All the files are there. It stays updated. Every time I open Fortnite every 6 months going, I might give this a shot.
Mm-hmm.
It would be 25 minutes of updates and downloads to get the latest stuff. So there is some advantages. In our next story, Google Stadia, one of these services like Fortnite, have been blocked from iOS because of the way they're set up, and they want to take all the money, and Apple wants their cut. Well, Google Stadia announced it will be playable soon on iOS via Safari, so through the web browser, like
Just
you
like
mentioned.
I did last night.
Yeah, as a progressive web app where, they're basically creating this special website where it'll be able to do this. And since it's just having to stream the video of the game and take your inputs, they can do it through the web browser. So that's how all of these services are going to get around some of iOS's rules. So we'll see if they work well through the browser, if eventually Apple says, okay, you can just be in the iOS store.
Well, I'm going to let you know that that's Apple's plan the whole time. They're like, just make a web app. They work fine. It's, maybe it's not as slick and cool or whatever, but you can do this. Quit being a crybaby about it. We have our store stuff in place for reasons, and for security, for advertisement purposes, for placement, for support. If you don't want to take advantage of any of those services, just make a web app. So that's what Amazon did, and it looks like that's what Stadia is going to do.
Yes. And I have to imagine at this point they listen to the podcast and they're just trolling us now because Wise announced another product this week.
Of course, every week they release a new
Yes.
product just so they know we'll announce it on our show, and they do it at a time where we get the story.
Yeah.
Like if they would have done it like Sunday afternoon, we wouldn't have been able to record it
wouldn't
and
have seen
include
it.
it. Yeah, it had been a week behind. So they are definitely listening to the podcast.
Yes. So this time they announced the Wise sprinkler controller. Now, our sprinklers at our home are managed by the HOA. We don't have to control. But if you had a home with a sprinkler system, I could see advantages to having a smart one. You could turn them on and off in your app or whatever. But yeah, Wise, they just keep coming at us. And I did not even look to see what the price was on this.
$50.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that seems, and it does up to 8 zones and connects through Wi-Fi. 3 years of automatic weather-based watering with Sprinkler Plus.
Yes. You'll see Wise doing this. They've did it with face detection. They're doing it some other places. On top of their very inexpensive hardware, which $50 is pretty cheap for a sprinkler controller, as well as $25 for a security camera, they're layering on subscription type services to help their income, of course. And so my guess is you can run this, but if you really want all the fancy features, you're going to have to subscribe to their service.
Yes, but it does look like a nice product if that's something you're interested in. And something else that's always nice, Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Well, thank you for that, Nate. I do strive to make the time that we spend on the Pro Tip of the Week a nice time. So this week is no exception, although we're going to get a little technical today. This is something that we've talked about in the past, but I'm not sure that we've really dissected all the pieces necessary in order to enable this function on your iPhone. And yes, this is an iOS specific tip for those of you who have iPhone devices. Going back pretty far, but I do believe they need to be running at least iOS 13 to take advantage of this. So that goes iPhone 6 and newer, I believe. But this is Back Tap, not to be confused with Tap Back, which is also an Apple thing for messages, but this is Back Tap. We've talked about how you can double tap or triple tap on the back of your phone. I think Jared called in one time and was talking about it on a voicemail or something like that. But I'm going to break down just a few easy steps to show you how you can make your screen dim by triple tapping or double tapping the back of your phone. And I'm going to see if mine is still enabled here. Yeah. So Nate, can you see here on the camera?
Oh, yeah.
There's that. And then I go tap, 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 and it darkens. So this is a feature I use all the time. I've mentioned it before. It's reduce screen brightness or whatever it is called. We'll get into it here in a moment. But with all things iPhone, you have to go to the settings app. So go with me to the settings app, if you will. And then we need to dive into the accessibility. Now, this is one extra step to do the feature that I'm going to explain to you today, which is reduce white point. That's the official title, reduce white point. Now, just a reminder, you can go into your control panel or other places and turn your screen brightness up and down. Reduce white point gives you another layer of darkness. And this is what's great for me when I want to go to bed and read some stupid social media garbage. I turn my brightness all the way down. Then I go into Control Center and I turn on reduce white point. Well, I'm going to save myself all that hassle by just turning my brightness down and triple tapping the back of the screen to enable that. So I'm blathering on and on. But down at the bottom of accessibility is the general section. Now, this is iOS 14. It may be in a different place on your phone if you're using an older version. And at the very bottom, it says accessibility shortcut. And when you tap that, you get all of the accessibility shortcuts. This is if you triple tap the button on your phone. That's what the accessibility shortcut is. Okay, so there's assistive touch, invert, keyboard access, zoom, people detection, all this stuff. Go ahead and select reduce white point. Then we go back, and now we need to head over to the physical and motor section of the accessibility area and click the touch option. inside of touch, you're going to see at the very bottom an option that says back tap. You click on that, and then you can choose, do you want this thing to work with the double tap or the triple tap? I use triple tap because it's harder for it to accidentally turn on. You click on triple tap, then at the very top of the screen, you've got none or that accessibility shortcut. So whatever you have assigned to accessibility shortcut will toggle when you triple tap the back of your phone. So I'm just going to swipe up to go back home, and I'm going to triple tap. And just like that, my screen dims, and I'm going to triple tap again, and it brightens back up. Now, this example is not the best example because the accessibility shortcut can be toggled by triple clicking the power button. So you may say, well, why would I prefer to do the back tap versus the side button? Well, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you want the back tap to do something else, but this was just a quick and easy example. And oftentimes I find that it's easier to triple tap the back of my phone versus trying to find the side button and then trying to click it without doing a screenshot because I'm holding the power up or the volume up button on the other side. And then I'm like, now I got a screenshot to deal with. So it can simplify your life by not using the accessibility shortcut, or at least transferring it to the back of your phone. So Nate, I know we haven't talked about back tap in a while. Are you currently using any back tap features there on your phone?
I was when we were talking about it before we started recording. I currently have the triple tap. It's still set to take a screenshot, and I just forget about using it. It's not part of my workflow. But with having the triple tap, we talked last time, when I had it on double tap, it felt like every time I set my phone down, it was doing it. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I've taken a lot of accidental screenshots, so that's a good thing. I should try the double tap as well, just to see if they've made that a little more accurate.
Yeah, and you can assign something to each one of those, double tap and also triple tap. Now, if you have parents or grandparents that use the phone and they find it difficult to push the button in without doing screenshots and stuff, maybe for them you can say, hey, grandma, would you like your phone to, I don't know, let me see what some of the other accessibility options are. For example, if you want them to turn on the magnifier, which I did use for a friend this week, the person was having trouble reading the menu because they forgot their glasses. And I'm like, just turn on the magnifier on your phone and it'll zoom in real big and you can just look at it on your giant screen. And so we use that. So maybe grandma wants that set as her accessibility shortcut, which can be applied to the triple tap on back. So whenever she wants to use her phone to zoom into things, she can do that. You can also use it, as I mentioned before, like to zoom in the phone, increase the contrast, which I think everyone should have increased contrast on their phone. Anyway, the sky's the limit. You can set this to shortcuts, which you can design yourself to do crazy things. There's really no limit, but that's how you get back tap enabled to reduce your screen brightness with a triple tap.
Very nice. Well, let's move on to our takes of the week. You might have tuned in to last week's episode titled Memories Are Fleeting and thought that we were going to be talking about Twitter's new feature called Fleets. But that was not the case because we recorded before they announced the feature. And then I was seeing it everywhere and I'm going, that is quite the coinky-dink.
Well, they listened to our show again.
Yeah, they must have been and said, hey, it's time to roll it out. But Twitter has added Fleets, which is basically just stories, what you see in Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. Every service has it now where you can record short videos or show a photo that is fleeting, as the name implies. I believe it's a 24-hour where it just kind of lives there. I myself, every once in a while, if I'm in Instagram and I kind of get bored going through my feed, I will click on stories, but I just haven't personally bought into it. I don't know. I've done a couple of them when I remember to do it, but I know they're very popular. Obviously, Twitter and everybody wouldn't be adding this if it wasn't a popular item. Yeah, I'm just... it's not something, again, that's part of my workflow, but I know they are very popular. So if you're on Twitter, which I question your sanity if you are. I
Wait
will
a
not
minute,
mention
I'm on Twitter.
how much time I spent on there the last month or so. But yeah, it's pretty much a similar thing. You can put text over it or add little emoji or whatever you want on the thing. But Twitter now has its fleets.
And sadly, for people like me who use a third-party Twitter client like Tweetbot or Twitterific, this probably won't be a feature that will make it over to those apps.
Yes.
Twitter has slowly been trying to kill off the third-party app market because it interferes with their ability to roll out promoted tweets and other things that can earn them money. They do still allow third-party clients, but they're making it harder and harder for them to have a good business model. So I don't expect that Twitterific or Tweetbot, which are two of the most popular, at least on iOS, Twitter clients, to get this feature. Have you heard anything about third party?
I haven't, and I know I have it on the iOS app, but I am on the web version as we speak, and I don't see it on the web version yet. So I figure they will probably try to bring it there at some point. But yeah, so it's just, we're in the first week of it, and I'm sure it'll expand, but I would assume that it will be your assumption that it will not go out to the third-party apps, which kind of limits your reach.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Our next story, we've talked in the past. There was some complaints, and with the whole Fortnite thing about the App Store commission rate, they have taken 30% since the beginning of the App Store. Well, they have announced something for, I think it's going to roll out in the new year, where they're cutting the commission rate to 15% for developers who net less than $1 million in a year.
Yeah.
So they're calling it a small business program. Now they announced this. They said more details are going to come out. It is a very nice thing. So if you make less than $1 million over all the apps you have in the App Store over the year, you will fall under this 15%. Or if you're a new developer, until you get up to $1 million. So I think it is a very nice concession for the smaller businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to make somebody like Fortnite happy because they're well over $1 million. It is a nice gesture from Apple. Amazon is rolling out a new service, as they do often. They are launching Amazon Pharmacy in 45 states. Now, there was some rumors about Amazon starting their kind of whole own healthcare program, and I believe they purchased PillPack. Yes, back in 2018, they acquired PillPack, which is advertised on some of the podcasts I listen to, where you could kind of subscribe to your prescriptions and they would just get sent to you. So they bought the technology from them. Obviously, prescriptions and all of that is very complicated, but they're rolling this out. And if you're a member of Amazon Prime, you can get 2-day delivery, and then just kind of part of their subscribe and save, where your prescriptions will just show up. And I was telling my wife about this morning, and we have a couple prescriptions that we get, and we have to go over to Fred Meyer's, the grocery store, and wait in line. It's like, man, if they can do this smoothly, which Amazon's pretty good at logistics, don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
And the stock market seems to think that they're going to be pretty successful at this. CVS shares fell 8.6%.
Wow.
Walgreens dropped 9.6%. Rite Aid down 16.2%. And GoodRx, which is a service you might have seen a commercial, they help consumers find discounts on prescription drugs. And I believe it was a pick of the week back when I went to Uganda a couple of years ago. I was able to get a deal. Their stock fell 22.5% on this news.
Cow.
So Amazon, whether you like them or not, they continue to dominate every market that they get into. And I think as an Amazon Prime member and somebody that I have a seasonal allergy prescription, but if that could just automatically show up, or you could order it and have it in 2 days and not have to bother with going to the grocery store and all of that, I'm in.
Yeah, I currently use Walmart for my prescriptions, and it doesn't look like that they were hit specifically by this. At least I don't see any news stories there. Their stock is down, but I don't think it's related to that. But yeah, any of the companies that just do pharmacy type stuff, it's going to really dig into their business, because we're two customers that probably will be moving there once they get their stuff together.
Yep, yep. And they did say that they will be working with most health insurance companies, which is always a shot in the dark on whether that will
Yeah,
include yours or not with the state of our healthcare in the United States, at least.
totally.
Google Pay, which is their payment platform, much like PayPal or
Apple Pay.
Venmo, which is Apple Pay. Venmo is actually owned by PayPal. PayPal owns a lot of different payment services,
Hmm.
but Google Pay, their version, has just released a major redesign with a new emphasis on personal finance. So if you think maybe like Mint.com or Credit Karma that we've talked about before, incorporating some of that and making it easier to do payments. Google Pay, then obviously there's a lot of Android phones out there, which it is probably pre-installed on most of those. And they do have an iOS app. I think I have Google Pay set up.
Yeah, I was just looking.
Um,
I'm not sure that I've knew that it existed on iOS and if I've ever used it. So I'm going to download it and try it out. Why not? Yeah, I've never
yes,
downloaded
yeah.
this app, so I've never tried it.
Yeah, it looks like I do not have it on my, that I have not had it on iOS, but I also had
Oh, your
my
Pixel.
Pixel phone.
Yeah,
So I had it set up on there. That's where I had used it a little bit. It seems like I end up using a lot of Venmo for getting money between people these days.
that's
Is,
what everyone I
kind
know
of,
uses.
yes, there's the Cash App we've talked about. There's a million of these, but there's a lot of money in money, if you
Oh,
didn't know.
that's
And so all
interesting.
of these companies want their piece. And I think we talked about maybe that Google has talked about releasing a credit card, much like the Apple credit card and all of that. So if you're into Google Pay, you're going to get a new look, and hopefully you'll still be into it. And anything like with Apple Pay, it's so secure. I need to use it more often just because of the security that they have built into it.
Hmm.
But these services are pretty good.
Yeah, they work taking cash. Well, especially with the coronavirus in full force, touching
Yes.
money and stuff and handing it to cashiers is usually not the cleanest of things. And so these touchless, wireless payment systems are really kind of the future.
Yes, very true. Our security and privacy stories of the week. We kind of hate ragging on Android, but this is a good example of some of the issues we find with Android. Android messaging app Go SMS Pro exposed millions of users' private photos and files. So
Hmm.
on iOS, there's the Messages app, and that's how you do your text messages and your what do they call it? iCloud messaging,
Yeah.
their built-in stuff. But on Android, you can have different messaging apps that will do SMS through your phone and other services. Well, this Go SMS Pro one that had millions of installs,
Mm.
if you were going to send a text message or a picture message to someone, it would create a link if they were not using the same app, just for compatibility, that they could click on, and then it would open up the link in the web browser. Well, somebody found out that these links that they would send were just sequential. So it
Oh,
was like a 7-digit code or
it
whatever,
wasn't
and
random at all.
wasn't random. So it just, each person that sent one, and, probably millions of messages a day, it would just tack one more on to the
Mhm.
thing. So the security researchers were able to go in and just start pulling data. And as you can imagine, pictures that are sent through messages, there's plenty of private information there of all different types.
Mhm.
And they reported it to the company, and TrustWave was the security researchers. They discovered the flaw in August and contacted the app maker with a 90-day deadline. But after the deadline elapsed without hearing back, the researchers went public, which then usually public pressure will help them get their stuff. So if you are using
Yeah.
Go SMS Pro, delete it off your Android device and find something different.
Yeah.
It has more than 100 million installs.
That's crazy. Usually, first party apps like that using messages through Apple or Messenger through Facebook or
Yeah.
whatever. See, this is the problem. Android doesn't have an official messaging app. And so you have to go to these third party ones. But usually the big ones like, what is it, WeChat and a couple of the other, but you can do Facebook on Android too. So I'm not a Facebook fan, but you're usually more secure when it's a big company and not one of these, I've never heard of this thing before. Like, be
No.
leery about installing
Yes.
and downloading these apps.
Yes. And another one, Dave, I don't think you're too active in the online dating community these days.
Well, it depends. Depends on how happy I am.
It depends on, yes. But Bumble is a very popular dating app, and it's been touted as a ethically minded dating app where it really tries to make it a little better experience, especially the female side tend to get harassed a little more on dating apps, and so it has some things built into that. Well, one of the things they didn't have built in very well was keeping the data private to its 95 million users.
Yikes.
And they had some flaws where there was ways to use APIs and run different things where you could pull a user's information, get location data,
Yikes.
Facebook data if they had it tied to Facebook. So again, not really great. And this one, it says in the article from Forbes, prior to the flaws being fixed earlier this month, having been open for at least 200 days since the researchers alerted Bumble, they could acquire the identities of every Bumble user.
Yikes.
So
this is not good.
Yeah. So we talked, I think maybe it was just last week, about Apple and these guys that decided to spend a couple months hacking Apple. And if you'll remember, they said that some of them, or most of them, were fixed within 2 days, some within hours. And the problem with these two stories we discussed today is the length of time after being alerted of the issue to fix it. There's always going to be bugs. There's always going to be vulnerabilities. But the fact is, they've got to be quick to fix these things. They've got to take care of this stuff as soon as they find out about it. So 200 days is not a quick fix for something like this where a lot of information can be taken.
Yes, I agree.
Our bonus odd take of the week. This is one you found, and I saw it on the interwebs as well. It, as I think we mentioned, PlayStation, Sony, and Microsoft are releasing their new gaming systems, the PlayStation 5. Well, as the end of the video will tell you, this one is not related in any way to any gaming system, but it sure is the Philly Series 5 from Philadelphia Cream Cheese.
Yeah, talk about jumping on the bandwagon. They have cream cheese packaged in such a way that kind of resembles the PlayStation 5 with its dark center core and 2 slabs of white plastic on the outside. And for $5, you can get the Philadelphia Philly Series 5 cream cheese. And I kind of want to get it just because it's clever advertising.
Yeah. I was going through the links this morning and I clicked and it said, oh, we're all sold out for now. Check back in 5 days or something. So what's in the box? A Philly Series 5 baking pan, Philadelphia cream cheese, pure cane granulated sugar, pure vanilla extract, chocolate sandwich cookies, white chocolate baking bar, wax paper. So you get this kit, and then you can create a cake that ends up looking very much like a PlayStation 5.
Now, I did not realize that this was not just plain old cream cheese, that it is a dessert snack. I absolutely want one of these now.
Yes. With the holidays coming up, and if you go through their webpage, they give you the baking instructions and everything. So it looks like you have, it says it makes 32 servings.
Not in my book.
Yes, from the PDX fast foodie in me, I will tell you that they tell you it's 32 servings because then the nutritional information looks a lot better, but you will probably get maybe 8 servings out of this if you're conservative.
They've got 4 forks sitting next to the dish on one of their publicity photos. So I'm guessing 4 servings would be about right.
Yes, yes. Per CDC recommendations, you should not be sharing forks with people outside of your household. So, yes, I hate to take a PDX Fast Foodie sidestep, but per those 32 servings, there is 29 grams of sugar.
Yikes.
So,
Holy
yes.
cow. So pure sugar, basically.
Yes, but a fun treat and a very cool little novelty here. So check that out. And it would be fun if you could get a hold of one of these to share with, or just eat yourself.
Oh, yeah. The holidays are coming. You're depressed. You just bake one of these up and sit it on your fat belly and watch TV and eat the whole thing. I mean, I'm assuming that's what people do. I don't have firsthand experience about that. A friend told me about that.
Yes, well, and we are your friends, and we're always telling you about our picks of the week.
Nate and I may have told you guys that we purchased the new iPhone 12 Pro Max. I don't know if
I think we remembered to bring that up.
Did we mention that? Well, as you know, I just can't use my phone caseless. I feel like I'm going to break the thing.
Yeah, I know. As pretty as they are, and I'm tempted, but there's something that sense of security of having a case on there.
Right. So, even before I got my phone, I ordered a case, and I may have mentioned it. And I made a video regarding this, actually. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch me talk about it. But I've been using it. I used it all week on my trip to Vegas. I used it at Vegas, on the flight home. I wasn't gentle with the phone, probably dropped it a couple times. And this case really performed well. And what I like about it is it's completely clear. So the stainless steel that I got on this phone and the white color really come through, and it's not being hidden by a case. So the one that I'm going to recommend to you, if you have a colored iPhone, and they make these for Android phones as well. So if you're using a popular Android phone from either Google or Samsung, they probably have got you covered. But it's the Spigen Ultra Hybrid case. And this is a hard, clear plastic back with kind of a soft rubber edge so that you can easily, and I put easily in quotes, easily push your phone in and out, because it is a little difficult to get that sucker in there. But once it is, you kind of forget that it's there because it's just completely transparent in all aspects. And so I like it. One little side benefit is when you turn your flashlight on, the case is clear. And so it picks up some of that light. And even if your flashlight is face down on the table, the ring of the case lights up, kind of giving you a pseudo illumination. And it looks just kind of cool. This looks like it's glowing in the dark. But it's like $12. If you're tempted to buy Apple's clear case for your new iPhone 12 or your 12 Pro Max, maybe you ought to just go with the Spigen, because you can save like 4 times the amount of money and probably get a better product.
I would agree. Well, my pick of the week, we are constantly inundated with more USB-C products in the world, and my MacBook Pro, it's only USB-C. And in talking about our Mac computers, we've talked fondly about MagSafe, which is the technology that allowed the charger just kind of break away if it got pulled too hard. And I think several months ago, maybe back at the beginning of the year, I recommended there was one from Griffin Technology. And I do use that cable, but I heard about another one on a podcast, and I went and checked it out, and of course purchased one on Amazon. It is the Basov's magnetic USB-C cable for MacBook Pro, 4.3 amp, 87 watt fast charge Type-C to Type-C braided nylon cord for MacBook Pro, Samsung S8, Dell XPS, and other USB-C devices. Got to take a breath. 6.6 feet black. And Dave, I've got it here. So the technology on one end, you just have a standard USB-C connector.
Okay.
And on the other end, you have a little magnetic nub that goes into your USB-C port. And then it just attaches on there. Now, it's a very nice nylon cable. It's much thinner and less bulkier than the Griffin one that I used before. And now, my one complaint, I don't know if it's a bug or a feature, is that it isn't the strongest magnet. The connection there. So I've found if I've got my laptop on my lap and I've got it plugged in, sometimes it'll kind of get knocked, which is what you want it to happen. You don't want it to stick there, but if your battery's getting low and you need to make sure you have a charge. But this is a great little product. I actually contacted the vendor just to thank them for how well it works. But yeah, it's a really, really great little cable. So if you've got a newer Apple laptop or other laptop and you want a USB-C with, and you're worried about breaking that off in there or something like that, check out this cable. Now, Dave, what would you pay for a cable like this?
This is a toughie because I have an idea in mind because they're all kind of around this price, but these unique ones where they have removable parts and stuff. Before I answer, let me ask, do you just leave the little nubbin inside your computer all the time? Is it slim enough to fit in and out of your case if you just leave it in the port?
Yes, it would be. I don't, because I'm an edge case and I'm always plugging into different things and everything. But you very well, especially my computer has 4 ports, USB-C ports. I could leave it in there and it would not impact everything. It is a very sleek. I mean, I don't know what that is. Maybe a 1/4 inch that it sticks out when it's plugged in.
I think you're going to have to go by the millimeters on this one. It's probably 2 millimeters or so.
Okay. Yes.
Well, probably more than that if it's a 1/4 inch. But regardless, I'm going to try to guess the price of this cable. And I feel like it's going to be a little low, but is it $14.99?
That is pretty close, Dave. This was $16.90.
Okay.
In real-time follow-up, it looks like it is 2.5 millimeters.
All right.
I'm using my little desk ruler here.
I was eyeballing over video, so that's pretty close.
Yes, and I'd say that's about 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah.
To be more accurate.
Too much, yeah.
So very good little cable. And more stuff from Amazon, our Ramazon purchase of the week. We love it when you guys shop through our links like Jared did for that Lego set that we talked about last week. And he followed up after listening to the episode and said he paid $39.99 retail like we were hoping.
Yeah.
And he said the $89 is resale as they're sold out due to being a Comic-Con exclusive. So there is some exclusivity. So that's why we're seeing the higher price now on that.
It was a special set, a limited run. And so you could, whatever means you could get them initially. But of course, all of these, after they are out of print, the price goes up. So good for him for getting it at a good price.
Yes. So our purchase this week, I love going through those anonymous reports and seeing what you guys are buying. This is the Hydromate 64-ounce half-gallon motivational water bottle with straw and handle with time marker, large reusable BPA-free jug times marked to drink more water daily. Hydromate 64-ounce.
I was going to laugh at one of the things you said, but by the time you got to the end, I already forgot what it was.
There was a lot packed in there.
Wow, that's quite a name. So yes. I'm assuming this is a insulated water bottle.
So it is a large BPA-free, some sort of plastic jug. I cannot tell how insulated it is, but it is 64 ounce, and it says it's 100% leak-proof, which I'd like to challenge them on that. It does have 4.5 stars on 2,374 ratings on Amazon. But it has the unique thing on this on the back. It gives you a little time breakdown, and it says 8 a.m. ready, set, drink. 10 a.m. you've got it. 12 p.m. keep drinking. 2 p.m. halfway there. 4 p.m. no excuses. 6 p.m. a little bit more. 8 p.m. you made it.
2 things on this. I think it is brilliant that they have the time on there. So if it comes, so if 2 p.m. rolls around and you're not at the 2 p.m. marker, I didn't drink enough water. I think that's great. Although I'm not, I don't think their little quippy remarks are that good. I think I would prefer this if it were a more professional looking thing, but the measurements are very helpful. Yeah, these things, you see them everywhere. I guess the idea with this one is that it has all the water that you need for the day, I'm assuming, the 64 ounces, which seems like a lot of water.
Yes.
You're going to go into the restroom a lot with that one. But staying hydrated is a trick to good health because it does help your immune system. It can prevent you from getting the dreaded kidney stones, which I've not heard one person say that was a pleasant experience. So,
No,
so
no. Been there. Oh, yeah, that was a miserable,
yeah,
miserable experience.
not a good time. So I'm very fortunate there. So I've stalled long enough. I've got to believe this jug is $8.99.
Well, I don't know what Hydromate must be a premier brand because it is $18.98.
That seems high for a plastic water bottle.
Yes,
But
I
it is
wonder.
100% leak proof. So
Yes,
and
yes.
it's got a
So there
screen
is
print
that.
on it.
And from my logistics days, I wonder if it might be a little bit more because it's a 64 ounce, so it's a larger size. And knowing how Amazon selling works, where you get Prime free one day with this, so it's taken up a lot of space in their warehouse, and it's costing more for them to ship. So they might have to bump up the price a little more just because of the size of it.
I think you're right. If I saw this on the shelf at Walmart, it probably would be $8.99 or probably $6.99 at Walmart, let's be honest. But since you're right, it is pretty large. Is 64 ounces a gallon? How much is in a gallon?
It's similar to a gallon, I
So
believe.
it is a pretty big jug. So I bet you're right.
Yeah.
But if here's my thought. If this works for you and motivates you to drink enough water during the day, it's priceless. You could pay 5 times the amount and it would still be worth it because drinking good, clean water is a good thing to do.
Yes. Oh, I apologize. Real-time follow-up. 1 U.S. liquid gallon is 128 U.S. fluid ounces.
So it's about a half a gallon then.
Half gallon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's very good size. Well, we have talked enough about water bottles today. Thank you to whoever purchased that. It is time to wrap up the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling a friend. Now get out there and tech better. This cable now,
I'm the 3, 2, 1, stop.